Okay. This video is a bit more serious than some of my other ones. This is about a topic that I have not spoken on in any kind of depth yet, but I think it's time because someone brought it up and it got me thinking, and I think it's time. And I like it when people bring up certain ideas or topics or stories because it's like divine timing. It pops up for a reason, and I think it's time to touch on this, and I think it's time to tell the story. Several stories, I guess. Somebody mentioned to me what it's like to take a break and go into the mental hospital for a few days. And I'm glad that she mentioned that because there can be some good to that. There can be some good to it, but the break, I suppose, or getting you out of the environment that is upsetting you, would be the break that you get. You know, you do get a change of environment, you get a change of faces, you get a change of food and things like that. The times that I went into the mental hospital, and there were a few, like half a dozen times. The times that I went in, I was never prepared. I didn't have a bag packed. It was last minute. It was always in the spur of the moment that I was rushed over there. I was never prepared for it. I got there and all the clothes I had was what I was wearing, and I had to wear that for a week. And, it didn't have any underwear to change into, didn't have any of my stuff, didn't have a toothbrush, no hairbrush, nothing. It just, was wearing what I was wearing. It was the same every time. It was always like that. So I was never prepared. And, it was always just like very in the moment. So whatever's going on in your life, or whatever's bothering you, whatever's hurting you, going into the mental hospital for a few days like I say, getting yourself out of the environment that's upsetting you is probably the only benefit. You do see a therapist or a counselor or a psychologist while you're there. When you get there, before you really talk to anybody, they are already trying to give you Zoloft or something like that to, make you not upset. And I don't like that because they're giving it to people without giving them a chance to say what's wrong. I took that stuff when I didn't want to, and they'll stand there and watch you take it and make you open your mouth and like move your tongue around to show you have it hidden it away or in your cheek or whatever. Like, they're weird. Big Brother's always watching. And those places are abysmal in a lot of ways. Of course, the food is shitty, and they're extremely, extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. And that's weird because, they're just so shitty. And the getaway part is okay, but really they don't help you, and you're only there for a few days because those places are so expensive. Insurance does not want to pay for that shit. They just don't want to. They don't want to. And that being the case, you're not there for very long. So even if you are getting therapy there, which you do, but every, like once or twice you'll see somebody. It won't be every day, it'll just be here and there. Once or twice you'll see somebody who's going to, tell you what your diagnosis is and what pill it's going to take to fix it. And and yes, I was a pharmacy tech, and yes, I don't, I think that's wrong. So I don't care. I don't believe in that. And because it's fake. And it's to pull you away from what you need to work on, and that's stupid and it's hurtful. So when you're there, you might see a therapist once or twice, depending on how many days you're there. And you don't get the help you need because they keep throwing you into group things, group sessions. And people get in there and they're afraid to talk. You get so many people that don't want to say anything because they're afraid. You're in there with a bunch of strangers, and if you're weird about hygiene, God help you, because you don't want to get in the shower because it's not clean. And so you go that many days, probably not wanting to bathe because of how filthy it is and just everything else, so it doesn't matter It's the same it's the same basic shit no matter what hospital you go into. It's gonna be the same basic shit because I've been in enough of them to know in different states. And you know, getting away from your environment, you know, like I say, is can give you a little bit of breathing room, but at the same time, while you're there in the hospital, no one's really listening to you. They're just, you know, trying to find out what's wrong with you so they can give you the right pill, and a shit like that. So it's not a solution. It's not a solution. It's a good little break maybe, but it's not a solution, because once you get out of there, you come back to the home environment or whatever environment is making you crazy, and you go right back to it, and it's like you didn't get any help or anything, you know, and you just have a little bit of, you know, leftover Zoloft, you know, filtering out of your system, and like that's it, you know. So I don't condone or support or believe in, you know, going to the loony bin, because they don't help you, and you can't stay. Even if they were helping you, even if they were doing something right, you don't get to stay there long enough to benefit from it, because you need months of therapy, and you can't get it there because the fucking insurance doesn't want to pay for it. So it's like you're there for a few days, and like, okay, you know, they're trying to hustle you out the door with some prescription in your hand so they don't have to see you again, you know. And it's like, that's so fucking stupid, and I just think something needs to be said about that. And I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. It never helped me. It didn't do anything for me, you know, and I don't think it did anything for the people that were there. And because like I say, you don't get enough one-on-one, and you don't get enough attention. You don't get enough attention. Everything is group stuff. And people don't want group stuff. They need individual help. Everyone's got to come in from a different situation. Because you get everybody in there, everybody tells their story. Everyone in there, in that group, in the circle, is coming from a totally different background, totally different situation. So it's like, you know, and then half the time, the therapist or whoever is leading the group tries to encourage the people in the group to support each other. Well, support each other? Hell, you know, I'm in here because somebody, you know, didn't want me to kill myself, so they called the police, and I got, you know, thrown in the back of the police car, and got, you know, dragged in here. I'm not in any shape to give anybody a pep talk, because that happened to me. I you know, have been in public places and called the police saying I was going to kill myself, and they had to come and get me and put me in the back of their car and take me to the hospital. I've done all that. I've done all that. And you know, it's not, it doesn't, they don't help you. They don't help you. And the police don't give a shit most of the time either. They just do it just so that it doesn't make them look bad if they ignore you, you know. But I mean, that's, a lot of them don't give a damn about their job. So it's like you feel like you're being ignored by so many people, you know, and until you find the right therapist or whatever to help you work it out. But I just want to say that, you know, being in the mental hospital has its own difficulties and its own challenges, and it doesn't make you feel better. And even when I was in the Army, I was in the loony bin then for trying to kill myself. And there was an Air Force doctor that came in and sat down with me, and he had a student with him, just some young girl who was like barely older than me at that time. And I was probably 20 years old. I was 20 or maybe 21. And he was training her or whatever, so he had her tell me everything that, you know, they had figured out about me, you know, from all the hours of therapy I had gotten. And I didn't, you know, that's sarcasm. So she looked at me and said, and she was nervous. She was nervous. Women, and when we were in the Army, women were nervous around me. And I have no idea why, because I thought I was a fucking loser. So I guess I was wrong, but they were nervous around me. And she looked at me and was real unsure of herself and said, so we think you have, she told me it was some kind of personality disorder. And I said, what? And because I had joined the Army because I wanted to make Dad proud. And that was the only reason I joined. So none of that was for me. I've lived all of my early years of my life trying to do things for other people. I didn't do anything for me. That's probably why I was so goddamn crazy. So what I was suffering from was severe depression and not knowing what I wanted from my life. I wouldn't say I had split personality, but I just didn't want to be there. So she was telling me that I had some kind of personality disorder, and I said, "Come again?" And she got real scared, and like she shut her mouth and looked at the officer, who was like much older than her and knew what he was doing. And he said, "Look, just relax. Everybody has this." And I said, "If everyone has it, how do you know it's an illness?" And like the room just fell silent. It's like they had never been heard. They had never heard that before. How the fuck have you never heard that before? So, anyway, but I, in that moment, in just those few moments in that room, I got so angry I was shaken because nobody would listen to me. And I was so mad, my whole body was shaking, and I was ready to kill somebody, anybody, somebody. And this officer, this man who was like no bigger than me, he y'all aren't going to believe me when I say this, I don't really care, but he got scared and got up and left the room. Not because I think, that he was afraid I would, tear him limb from limb, but just like I was getting so angry. He probably didn't know what I was going to do next. And because the guy didn't fucking know me. So how in the goddamn hell he knew I had a split personality or personality disorder, bipolar, whatever the fuck they said I had, is beyond me, because he didn't fucking know. I was the first time I'd ever seen his goddamn face. So it's like, I don't know how he came up with that. But regardless, he looked scared, and he got up and hurried out the door with the girl following real close behind him, and they shut the door, and then somebody else came to get me out of there and led me back to another bullshit group meeting that did nothing but make everybody upset. So if you want, what I'm trying to say is, if you feel like you're losing your shit and you think a week or however long your insurance will pay, a few days for you to, take respite in the Looney bin, or as the youngins are calling it now, grippy sock vacation, I think is what they're saying. And it took me a minute to, it took me a little bit to realize, and I thought, oh yeah. But, and they have a fit when you don't wear those motherfucking socks. Like, I came out of my room one time without the socks, like just bare feet on the carpet. And one of the nurses, it was a man, a real big, huge, tall man with a fiery red ponytail, long ponytail down his back. And he had been in the Air Force. And he said, "Yeah, I'm about to have a stroke because she's not wearing those fucking socks." And I just thought, are you nuts? Like, do you have any idea what else I've had to do in the Army? Like, you're worried that I'm not wearing socks? Are you kidding me? I've been in combat medic training. I'm trained to like save someone's life while bullets are flying at me. You're worried that I'm not wearing socks? I don't give a fuck if I'm not wearing socks. Like, that was so dumb to me. He was just trying to do his job. It's nothing against him, but I'll never forget that. I'm gonna have a fucking stroke. She's not wearing her goddamn socks. Okay. Fuck me. So just weird shit happens when you're in the can. Weird shit. So there was a door in the hallway in one of those places I was at that was near my room. And all night long, every few minutes, that door opened and closed. But because it was like off kilter, it was the hinges were wrong or something, and you could hear it hit every time it opened and closed because it didn't close all the way or something. And I listened to that for hours, and it was finally like 3 a.m, and I had finally given up because I didn't sleep anyway. I never slept. I've never slept until like here lately, Since I got divorced, I sleep real good now, but that's been very, very recent. But I wasn't sleeping, and that man nurse, the tall one with the red ponytail, he was there that night, and I found him, and I said, "Look, whoever's playing real loud pool needs to stop because I can't do this. And he just laughed because that's what it sounded like. It just sounded like somebody was shooting pool, but it was just loud. Just like that sound, the knocking sound, And that was all I could equate it to. But he thought that was funny. But anyway, he finally gave me something that made me sleep. But it didn't matter because, like, I had to get up in 3 hours because, when you're in the military, they make you get, and you're in the loony bin, they make you get up at the time you're supposed to get up in the military. So we couldn't sleep in. There was no 9 o'clock shit. We were up at 6. It was bad. So you don't get a break. Military people don't get a break. That's why they're so fucking miserable. In case anyone's wondering. Which is why they have bad behaviors, because they're miserable. Not that that's an excuse, but that's why. And I could write, I don't know how many books on that, but with that, another story for another time. We'll save that for later. So, there was a girl at one of the hospitals I stayed at who was really energetic. Like, she was manic depressive, but while I knew her, while she was there, she was manic, and she was in charge. And she laughed a lot and said, "Yeah, the only difference between me and you is I have the keys." Okay, that's not good. Because that's not good. But anyway, so I was a little bit concerned about her because she was doing stuff I wasn't even doing. I didn't have a weird behavior, I didn't have any like outward signs of being crazy. It wasn't that. I was just severely depressed, and I didn't want to be there, and everything, that I thought it wasn't, and I was being lied to a lot by my superiors, and I was having it shoved in my face and up my ass that people who are in charge of me don't give a shit about me. And I've had so much of that throughout my life, which is why I do what I fucking do now, where I don't have a boss. I'm my boss. Because I don't want anybody over my head that is, supposedly there for my well-being and is going to, protect me. No. That's why I'm not married. That's why I'm my own boss. Like, no, I don't trust you. I'll do it. So... But being locked up like that, in the big house, I tell you, it's not going to be the escape you think it's going to be in the ways you think it's going to be. It's not going to be like that. It's just a change of environment, but the rest of it's still going to be shitty. So, just keep that in mind. And when you get out, you'll feel a little bit fresh in a way. You'll feel a little bit better in some ways because you've been somewhere different, but you're not going to feel like you've made progress or healed or figured anything out or anything like that, because you're not going to get enough time with a therapist for that. They just won't do it. They don't want to pay for it. So, and this is after all the years that you've been paying into insurance. You know what I mean? Like, so, you're not going to get the help you need in the big house. You're just not going to. That they don't want to spend the money. It's expensive enough, just paying everybody to work there, and paying the nurses to work overtime and shit like that. So they're so busy paying the employees, they don't want to pay for the actual patients to have any kind of benefit. I'm not gonna lie to you. But that's what it's like. So you'll there's a chance you could meet one or two good people in there that like you really resonate with or whatever and really vibe with, and that's good. And you might get lucky and meet a nurse or somebody that like says one good thing to you that sticks with you for a long time. It can happen, but overall it's not really going to help you get better or do better or feel better, because you're not there long enough to get the break you need, and you're not there long enough to get the therapy you need to make any progress or whatever. It's not going to happen. So if you're thinking about going, it's really just going to be a change of environment for you. The rest of it's going to be utter shite. So just keep that in mind. And for God's sake, take a bag with change clothes. And when you get there, make sure that they give you something to sleep, because you're not going to sleep. You're going to be in a different bed. You're going to be in a shitty bed. The room's probably going to be cold. You're not going to get enough blankets. You're going to be sharing in the room with somebody, and they're going to be up all night long doing whatever it is they do. and you're going to be around a bunch of strangers you don't know, and you don't know who's going to be walking down the hall or whatever, not being monitored. So, like, lock your door if you can. They probably won't let you do that, though. Most of the time they don't let people lock their doors, but there's a lot of weird shit that goes on. I think the first time I went into the big house, I was 12 years old. And I was talking about killing myself. And I was only there one night. And sometime that when I got there, they gave me Zoloft, and it knocked me for a loop. And I slept so hard. I had when I woke up, on the times I did wake up, I would just go back to sleep. But every time I woke up, I had no idea what time it was. I had no idea what day it was. I didn't know where I was. I had forgotten what had happened. It just really fucking, derailed me. That quarter of a pill of Zoloft was all I got, was a quarter of one. And because I remember just swallowing a crumb. So they had halved it twice, right? And I got that quarter of that pill. And I mean, it just knocked my little motherfucking ass out. I was skinny anyway, so it hit me like a train wreck, But I woke up, at one point and it was daylight, I think. And there was some strange man just standing in my room, looking at me. Standing in the middle of the room, looking at me in my bed. And I said, my brain wasn't right yet because I was so damn fucked up from the Zoloft. I couldn't think straight or anything. Like, that shit really threw me for a motherfucking loop. And I was so disoriented. I mean, like, disoriented as in, like, like you're real sick and your brain isn't working right, or you've been in a car wreck and you wake up in the hospital and it was like that. I was fucked up from that pill. And when I woke up, the only thing I could think to say was, what happened? And he just kind of shrugged and, like, turned around and kind of bumbled back out of the room. He just kind of moseyed back out. He didn't do anything to me, but he was standing there in my room looking at me, and I was 12. It's weird that he didn't do anything to me, but he had mental problems and wasn't thinking like a regular man. He was just standing there looking dumb. And, he had his own, whatever his own problem was. And I went down the hall and told the nurses, that some weird man was in my room, and they just went, huh? Because nobody was fucking paying attention. I was the only kid there, and I was especially the only young girl there. And the rest of them, I looked around at everybody in there, and they were screwed up. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean they were fucked up. That was people that were, like, chanting to themselves and twitching and all kinds of weird shit. And I looked around, and I thought, Jesus Christ, where the fuck am I? Because I didn't fit. I knew I don't fit anywhere else. Like, I don't fucking fit in anywhere, okay? Like, I don't. I know that. I've known that since I was probably about 5 years old. But I swear to God, I didn't fit into this place. Like, I just looked around and I thought, what in the goddamn hell is going on around here? Like, because I thought, I shouldn't be here. This is way beyond what's wrong with me, way beyond. I was just depressed because of, the way the world acts towards adolescent girls. Because they're adolescent girls, their confidence, if they have any, God bless them, plummets in biblical proportions. Just absolutely takes a nosedive. Boys don't have this problem, by the way. But girls, because of the things that are thrown at them, you gotta be blonde, you gotta have big tits, you gotta blah, 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 you gotta this, you gotta that, everybody's gotta want you. Everyone's looking at you, and when you can't keep up with that is when you realize that you're worthless, and whatever confidence you thought you had just plummets into the depths. And every 12-year-old girl goes through this. I'd love to see one that doesn't, because that would be like a phenomenon. But about 99% of us go through that. And there's a lot of anger behind that hurt, and a lot of hurt behind the anger when that happens. There's anger behind the depression, and there's hurt behind the anger. when that happens. But that's that's just something. It's just something that happens. But so like I say, if you want to take a break and go to the loony bin, you can. But long story short, you're not going to get a whole lot of help, because I am well versed. I am very experienced in being locked up in the big house, and the bottom line is it's okay for a break, but you're really not going to get the help you need. You're just not. So I don't want people to think that they're going to check in and get a big fluffy blanket and be on their own schedule and shit like that, because it's not going to do that. They're going to get you up at a certain time, you got to eat at a certain time, and you're going to do everything else they want, and they're going to give you a pill to shut you up, and they're going to have some doctor come in there and talk to you for 5 minutes and tell you what disease you have, and then they'll send you home as soon as the insurance decides they don't want to pay for you anymore. And that, I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody. If you want to go. I'm just trying to prepare you, because it's not going to be what you think. Because I've been enough times to know. So I just wanted to put that out there, because somebody mentioned that, and I thought it'd be good to clarify, for anyone who hasn't been, and who doesn't know, what that entails and what that's really going to be like. So, and if you're in the military and you go in, God love you, because that's going to be even worse, because they're going to get your ass up at 6 o'clock no matter what. The only thing you don't have to do is exercise, but the rest of it, yeah. So just, and matter of fact, if you're in the military and you're thinking about going in the hospital, the mental hospital, don't even do it. Don't give them the satisfaction, because you're not going to get a break when you're there either. I'll probably have to say that for a whole other fucking video sometime, but I'm just telling you, it's not going to be what you think it is. So I just want to put that out there and give y'all some information, because you deserve to know. So that's all I want to say. Thanks for sticking with me, and thanks for listening, and thanks for hearing me out.